While I was on a video call with my boyfriend, his roommates suddenly started clamoring to see me. Just as I was smiling modestly, his phone was snatched away. A low, amused voice came through. "Don't be stingy, let your brother see what our sister-in-law looks like." The next second, I found myself face to face with the very ex-boyfriend I had broken up with in the most dramatic and ugly way imaginable. His smile slowly faded. After a long pause, he tugged at the corner of his lips and muttered, "Fuck." Chapter 1. The moment that person bent down, the moon pendant hanging from the silver chain at their collarbone brushed past the camera, and the moment I clearly saw his face, my breath stopped. Beads of sweat rolled down Matthew's sharp jawline into the open neckline of his basketball jersey. He stared at the screen for 2 stunned seconds, his pupils shrinking in shock. Fuck. The next second, the phone was thrown somewhere. The screen briefly went black, and then was quickly picked back up. Paul, holding the phone, frowned. "What the hell's wrong with you all of a sudden?" Matthew paused, then let out a dry laugh. "You've got terrible taste." Paul, usually the gentlest guy, actually got annoyed for once and said coldly, "My girlfriend is amazing. Don't talk nonsense." "Exactly. She's gorgeous. I think she's even prettier than the belle from the foreign language department." "Matthew, what's wrong with your eyes? If I could date someone like her, I'd eat instant noodles for 3 years. Screw that. I'd eat them for 10. The room erupted with laughter. Matthew didn't say another word. Paul picked up the phone again. "Sorry, Diana. He probably lost a basketball game today. Bad mood." A gritted voice came from the background. "I won. Won by 20 points. Paul didn't blink. Then he must have short-circuited. "Diana, I'll pick you up for dinner tonight." After hanging up, I lay quietly on my bed. The midsummer sunlight was a bit too harsh, so I draped my arm over my eyes. It's been about 3 years since I last saw Matthew. I didn't expect him to still be wearing the moon necklace I gave him. Such a cheap thing. I still remember the price tag was only $199. It was a couple set, half off if you bought both. So just $100 in total. Mine's probably been lost for ages. He didn't seem to have changed much. Yet he looked completely different. Still the same face, but sharper, like a gem finally cut with edges. And the defiance in his eyes was too fierce to be hidden anymore. I suddenly remembered 3 years ago, right before our college entrance exams. Matthew was standing outside my building in the same kind of jersey, eyes red, begging me, "I'll listen to whatever you say from now on. If you don't want me to talk to her, I won't ever speak to her again. We promised we'd go to the same college." His voice turned hoarse, a glint of desperation in his eyes under the night sky. "Just don't break up with me. I'll do whatever you say. Please?" He looked so pitiful. He was nearly on his knees, but I just looked at him calmly for a while, and said softly, "Matthew, I changed my application. I'm not going to T University anymore." Chapter 2. My relationship with Matthew had its ups and downs. In my second year of high school, I transferred to a new school and immediately became the top student. At the time, the teachers liked to pair high-achieving girls with underperforming boys to inspire them, so I was assigned to sit next to Matthew. But Matthew had zero interest in studying. Instead, he was very interested in me. He'd tug on my hair, snatch my pen and hold it high above his head with a mischievous grin. "Diana, you're so short." He passed me notes during class. I opened one to find a stick figure drawing of me. Just as I was about to scold him for being childish, the teacher spotted the note and held it up for the whole class before sending both of us to stand outside. I was the model student, never punished before, and stood there, eyes red, pushing Matthew angrily. "Matthew, what the hell is wrong with you?" He knew he was in the wrong and didn't say a word. After a while, he quietly folded that stick figure drawing into a little moon and slipped it into my hand. Looking at that little moon, I couldn't help but burst into a tearful smile. From then on, Matthew and I started getting closer. I forced him to study until he understood the material, checked his homework, and never let him copy answers. In turn, he waited for me downstairs every day to walk to and from school together. We'd browse accessory shops near the gates, and one day I impulsively bought a pair of moon necklaces, gave one to him. Matthew was a star at school, good-looking, wealthy, athletic, and charismatic. Countless girls liked him. One of them even cornered me one day and bluntly asked if I liked Matthew. out of pride and some teenage confusion I couldn't explain. I said, I'd never like someone whose grades are worse than mine. She looked behind me. I turned around, and there was Matthew, standing there silently. Who knows how long he'd been listening, expressionless. He walked past me without a word. From that day on, he never approached me again. No more chatting during class. No more walking home together. We sat at the same desk, barely exchanging a word. I wanted to explain, but he never gave me the chance. Until a year later, when Matthew shocked everyone by tying with me for first place. That night, he stopped me and said seriously, Diana, my grades are just as good as yours now. So, can you like me now? These days, that memory is already a blur. I only remember the jacaranda trees in full bloom across campus, like a sea of blue, as the petals floated on the breeze. The look in his eyes shone brighter than a supernova. That light traveled across time and galaxies, piercing straight into my heart, and I heard my own voice, soft but certain. Okay, just like that, we got together. Our teenage love was like wildfire, wild, intense, uncontrollable. We were inseparable every day. Matthew introduced me to all his friends, and even got my name tattooed on his body. I told him I wanted to get into T University, and he said he'd go to the same one. His mom was overjoyed at his sudden motivation. Luckily, my grades didn't drop, so both our families and teachers turned a blind eye. We became the only openly dating couple at school. Back then, I really believed we'd stay together forever, until I found out there was always a girl in his heart more important than me. Chapter 3. Matthew had a childhood friend named Nicole. They grew up together. Nicole's dad used to be Matthew's father's driver. One day, during a boating accident, he risked his life to save Matthew's father but didn't have the strength to save himself. He was lost to the sea. Matthew's father was a decent man. On the spot, he took in Nicole and her mother, promising to treat Nicole like a daughter and support them for life. From then on, Nicole and Matthew were inseparable. Even after we started dating, she never kept her distance. She still followed us to and from school. Matthew and I fought about her constantly. It took forever to finally get Nicole to stop tailing us. But just a few days later, she reappeared, leaning on Matthew's shoulder. Sorry, Diana Gia, she said sweetly. I know you don't like walking with me, but I twisted my ankle, and Matthew G insisted on taking me home. Matthew's eyes stayed on her the whole time, frowning as he scolded her. You got hurt and didn't even tell me? What? Were you planning to hop home on one leg? Get on. I still remember that day. Matthew walked ahead of me, carrying Nicole on his back. She giggled, reminiscing about their childhood while I couldn't get a word in. Then she whined, Matthew G. My foot really hurts. And Matthew's voice turned so gentle, so unlike anything I'd heard before. Really? Then what should we do about that? I want cake. From that fancy bakery on the corner, the most expensive one. Okay, I'll get it for you after I take you home. Matthew G. Can I walk with you again from now on? When I walk alone, those creeps outside the school stare at me. I'm scared. Matthew frowned. Why didn't you say anything earlier? I'll pick you up tomorrow morning. From now on, if I'm not walking with you, you're not allowed to walk alone. Nicole laughed, then turned back and gave me a smug little look. Okay. The sunset cast their shadows long and intertwined. I fell farther and farther behind, and Matthew never once looked back. Not until he dropped Nicole off at home did he finally turn and say, I need to go buy Nicole that cake. I won't walk you home today. Diana, go home by yourself. I stared at him for a long time, then turned and left. Chapter 4. After that incident, Matthew and I didn't talk for an entire week. At first, he didn't think he'd done anything wrong. I've always thought of Nicole like a sister. Her foot was hurt. How could I just ignore that? I stared at him, expressionless. If her foot was hurt, she could have called her mom, or your family's driver. Why did she have to wait for you? You treat her like a sister, but does she see you as a brother? Can you honestly say you don't know she likes you? Matthew's eyes darted away. In the end, he sighed and pulled me into a hug. Diana, I swear you're the only one I like. I'll talk to her. Set clear boundaries, okay? I closed my eyes for a moment. Fine. And true to his word, Matthew went to talk to Nicole. I don't know what he said to her, only that she ran out of the classroom in tears. And after that, she never came to find him again. I thought that was the end of it. But a few days later, Matthew came to me with a frown. Hesitant. Nicole said a guy from another school has been bothering her. She's turned him down a few times, but he won't leave her alone. Today he invited some of Nicole's friends to hang out, and she asked me to pretend to be her boyfriend to scare him off. He saw the look on my face and quickly added, just for one night, just to get the guy to back off. Oh really? First she twists her ankle and needs you to carry her home. Now some guy's bothering her so she needs you to pretend to be her boyfriend. What's next? What will she need tomorrow? Matthew wasn't exactly a patient person, but he always made an effort with me. If her dad hadn't died saving mine, she'd still have a father to protect her. I can't abandon her. Just this once, okay? If you're worried, you can come with me. At that point, I knew arguing wouldn't get us anywhere. I could only nod. Just for one night. I'll come too. Matthew beamed, cupped my face in his hands, and kissed me. My girl is so understanding. I love you the most. Chapter 5. That night was my first time ever in a bar. Sure enough, Nicole was surrounded by a tall, well-built guy, not bad-looking, but he had a thug-like vibe and kept trying to put his arm around her. Matthew stepped forward, shoved the guy aside, and pulled Nicole into his arms. His brow furrowed as he stared the guy down. Hands off. She's my girlfriend. Matthew had trained in Sonda since he was a kid. When he got serious, his energy could shut a guy down with just a look. The others rushed to defuse the tension. How about a game of truth or dare? Zhang Li's treating us tonight, order whatever you want. Zhang Li, the guy harassing Nicole, was from a vocational school. Word was, his family had shady connections. Shops on the street had to pay his dad protection money. He met Nicole through a friend's girlfriend and started chasing after her. Even though she rejected him multiple times, he wouldn't let up. Tonight's little gathering was just an excuse to confirm if Nicole really had a boyfriend. Matthew chuckled coldly and tossed an American Express Centurion card onto the table. No need. Everything's on me tonight. Everyone's eyes locked on the black card. A girl practically sparkled with excitement. Is that the legendary black card? Nicole. Come on. How could you keep a rich and hot boyfriend from us? Nicole laughed and leaned against Matthew. My fingers clenched slightly. Matthew instinctively glanced at me, but I turned away and avoided his eyes. Zhang Li's expression darkened. His friend's girlfriend, probably sensing trouble, grabbed a bottle and said, "Let's start the game. Spin the bottle, whoever it points to goes next." The first few rounds were tame. Everyone chose truth and the questions were pretty harmless. I was just beginning to relax, thinking the night might pass peacefully, when the bottle landed in front of Nicole. She tucked her bangs behind her ear and smiled. I choose dare. My heart sank. Something felt wrong. Sure enough, the girl beside her squealed with excitement. Then pick a guy here and kiss him. Tongue kiss. Nicole's cheeks turned red, and her eyes drifted to Matthew. His expression froze. His brows drew together instinctively. Then I choose, Nicole said without a second's hesitation, pointing straight at Matthew as Zhang Li's face darkened with rage. Matthew's face went cold. Pick a different dare. The girl arched a brow. Aren't you two dating? What's the big deal? Come on. Kiss. Kiss. Everyone started chanting, riling each other up. Zhang Li's eyes narrowed suspiciously. Are you really Nicole's boyfriend? Nicole smiled sweetly. Of course. Her pretty eyes shimmered with a trace of pleading. She clutched Matthew's arm, lips slightly parted. Matthew GE. I felt my heart go cold. Matthew stood there, stiff, letting Nicole lean in. Just as their lips were about to touch, I suddenly stood up. Matthew flinched slightly, turning his face. Nicole's kiss landed at the corner of his mouth. He panicked and reached for me, but I flung his hand off with all my strength, without sparing a glance at everyone's stunned faces. I turned and walked straight out the door. Chapter 6. I had just walked into a narrow alley when Matthew caught up and grabbed my arm. He rushed to explain. Panicked. She didn't kiss me. I didn't let her. Diana, please don't be mad. I couldn't take it anymore. I'm done. Matthew, we're in a relationship. Don't you get that you're supposed to keep your distance from other girls? If you can't let her go, then don't be with me. It's not like that. I only see her as a sister. Nicole quickly caught up to us, and right behind her came Zhongli, step by step, followed by a few thugs gripping steel pipes and switchblades. Zhongli's face was dark as he grinned coldly. Nicole, he's not even your boyfriend. Is he? You think you can play me like that? Nicole whimpered and hid behind Matthew. Matthew Ge. Matthew shielded her. Zhang Li was already tall, but with Matthew standing in front of him, he still had to look up. Whether I'm her boyfriend or not, she's already turned you down. You don't understand what no means? Turned me down? Zhang Li sneered. If she's so uninterested, why does she come every time I ask her out? Playing me on one end and simping for someone else on the other? Nicole, you've got some nerve. I whipped my head around to look at Nicole. Her eyes were red and teary. I didn't. Matthew Ge. He's lying about me. Zhang Li laughed icily. Oh, I know who you are. Matthew, rich boy, but money won't help you here. He waved his hand, and his gang began closing in. You really are something. Huh? All the girls seem to revolve around you. Zhang Li suddenly smirked and pointed at me and Nicole. Tonight, you get to pick one to take with you. The other one stays and keeps me company. Don't worry, I'll take good care of her. My heart sank. Yes, I was Matthew's girlfriend, but could our few months of dating really compare to his lifelong bond with Nicole? Would he choose me? Nicole's eyes widened in panic. She clutched Matthew's sleeve tightly. Matthew Ge. You can't leave me. If my dad were still alive. Matthew finally snapped. Shut up. He turned to Zhang Li, face blank and cold. You're not taking either of them tonight. If you've got a problem, come at me like a man. Zhang Li's expression twisted. I'll see if your bones are as tough as your mouth. He grabbed a steel pipe and swung it at Matthew. The night wind blew Matthew's black hoodie back as he dodged. The pipe grazed his ear, but his left hand twisted Zhang Li's wrist backwards with a brutal snap. The sound of metal hitting the pavement mixed with Zhang Li's scream. The rest of the gang rushed in. Matthew, no matter how skilled, was still only one person. He managed to take down two. But then the first blow hit, his hoodie split open at the back as a spring-loaded blade slashed across it. Several pipes boxed him in, cutting off every escape. For now, they couldn't land a clean hit. But it was only a matter of time. Matthew spat out blood, and his dark eyes were full of fury. As the standoff intensified, Zhang Li suddenly shifted his target to me. He raised the knife and charged in my direction. Matthew's face paled. He tried to get to me, but Nicole suddenly clung to him. Hard. Matthew Ge. I'm scared. In the next moment, time stopped. A warm wetness spread across my lower stomach. It took a few seconds for the pain to register. Matthew rushed toward me like a man possessed. Zhang Li, just a student, after all, panicked as soon as he realized what he'd done. He shouted for his guys to run, and they scattered. Nicole tried to grab Matthew again, but he shoved her hard. She crashed into a metal trash can with a cry. He didn't even look at her, hands shaking. He tried to help me up, but didn't dare move me. His face had gone ghost white. Diana. As my consciousness slipped away, I had only one thought left. Love hurts. If I had known, I would have never gotten together with Matthew. Chapter 7. The good news, I didn't die. The bad news, the stab wound pierced my kidney. I was in critical condition all night, barely pulled back from the edge. I stayed in the hospital for a whole month. My parents were heartbroken and furious. My mom directly lashed out at Matthew. When you two started dating, I saw that your grades were still fine, so I turned a blind eye. But if I had known your family was such a mess, I would have locked her in the house before letting you date her. Our family isn't rich, but we've never let her suffer a day in her life. Do you have any idea what the doctor said? That if she had been brought in 10 minutes later, she would have. Her eyes were red. She couldn't even finish the sentence. Matthew stood with his head down, voice hoarse. I'm sorry, Auntie. It was all my fault. My mom took a deep breath. Don't come here again. Diana doesn't need you visiting, and I won't allow you two to be together. Matthew clenched his fists. Auntie, this is all my fault. You're right to be angry at me. Say whatever you want, but please, let me come by every day to tutor her. The college entrance exam is right around the corner. I don't want her falling behind because of me. The word Gaokao hit right where my mom's heart was softest. As much as she hated him, She wouldn't sabotage my future just to stay mad. She gave in with a cold face and said nothing more. So Matthew and I remained in a standstill. I couldn't forgive him. Sure, it wasn't his knife, but if he hadn't agreed to pretend to be Nicole's boyfriend, I wouldn't have ended up like that. I later found out Nicole never actually rejected Zhongli. She had been stringing him along the whole time. This entire setup, asking Matthew to pretend to be her boyfriend, even the girl who egged them on to kiss, was part of her plan. Matthew exploded when he found out. They had a massive fight. He told her flat out he'd never care about her again, they'd go their separate ways. And she was never to come near him again. Every day after school, he came to my house with his notes and helped me study, rain or shine, even though I didn't treat him kindly. Seeing him come day after day, such a proud person lowering himself so much, always polite no matter how coldly my mom treated him, I couldn't help but soften, little by little. But I still hesitated. Back then, I said I wanted to go to T University because Matthew planned to go there too. I did like the school, but my real interest, finance, was stronger at S University. I didn't know if I should give up S just to stay with Matthew. Time flew by, and the Gaokao arrived. Thanks to Matthew's tutoring over those 3 months, my grades didn't drop. In fact, they improved. I missed the top score in the city by just 1 point. I had the grades to go anywhere I wanted. Ironically, it was Matthew who didn't do as well. The back and forth, the stress, it all caught up to him. He fell sick during the exam and scored lower than usual. He could still get into T University, but likely not into his preferred major. Matthew, however, stayed optimistic. While resting at home, he sent me a message. Diana, can I still go to T University with you? I thought about it for a while, and finally decided to go see him. I wanted to give us one more chance. I believed he truly liked me, and I couldn't lie to myself. I still liked him too. Once we got into college, we'd be far away from Nicole. Maybe, just maybe, we'd finally have a real chance to be happy together. Chapter 8. I found out Matthew's home address and decided to pay him a visit. I didn't expect both his parents to be there. His mom looked like she had just come back from shopping, carrying a bunch of bags. She greeted me warmly, completely without the airs of a wealthy woman, complimenting me nonstop and urging me to sit down. I've heard all about you from Matthew, how beautiful and smart his girlfriend is. He's so lucky to have found someone like you. And I heard you two are going to T University together? That's perfect. We actually have 2 villas near campus. If you and Matthew don't want to live in the dorms, you're welcome to stay there together. Childhood sweethearts looking out for each other. It gives us parents peace of mind. Matthew's dad, on the other hand, didn't seem fond of me. He frowned and said coldly, that would be cohabitation before marriage. Ridiculous. The kids are being foolish. And you're encouraging it? I looked toward his mother and said, Auntie, I'd like to go upstairs to see Matthew. She smiled and nodded. Of course. Of course. Matthew will be so happy to see you. I went upstairs with a light step and pushed open the door to his room. Matthew. The words caught in my throat. On the bed, dressed in gray silk sheets, Matthew was lying face down, fast asleep. He was shirtless, his lean muscles glowing bronze under the sunlight. Behind him, Nicole was propped up on one arm, wearing a short, strappy slip dress. She smiled and greeted me. Oh, hey Diana, yeah. What brings you here? The dress was so short that when she sat up, the straps slipped slightly, revealing the soft curve of her chest. Matthew stirred and opened his eyes. When he saw me, they lit up with surprise and joy until he heard Nicole's voice. Then his face froze, and he turned his head stiffly. I turned and stormed out the door. That night, Matthew waited downstairs outside my building. He sent me message after message, begging me to give him a chance to explain. By evening, it started to rain. Torrents of water shattered against the glass as he stood there, soaked to the bone like a drowned cat. Even my mom couldn't bear to watch anymore. He just got over being sick. She said, go talk to him, at least. I grabbed an umbrella and went down. Rain streamed from Matthew's dark hair, clinging to his sharp brow. He looked pale, and his voice was hoarse. Diana, I swear, I had no idea when she came over. I took my medicine and fell asleep. I didn't invite her. After you went to the hospital, I told her everything. I said I only saw her as a sister. I told her to give up. I told her I only loved you. I believe you. I interrupted. He lit up for a second, but when he saw my expression hadn't changed, the smile slowly faded from his face. But I'm tired. I said quietly, Matthew, I believe you love me, and I believe you only think of her as a sister, but I'm really, really tired. The issues between you and Nicole, they're not just about you two. It's about your families. I can see it. Your dad clearly favors her. He probably wants you two to end up together, right? That's just his wish, Matthew said urgently. I've never once thought about marrying her. I believe you. But if we keep dating, what happens next? Are you really never going to speak to her again? Or will it be more of this, her constantly coming to you, you constantly explaining, and me constantly forgiving? I lowered my head. Matthew, let's not do this anymore. It's too exhausting. Matthew's voice trembled as he gripped my hand tightly. But we promised we'd go to T University together. Diana, please, just one more chance? In the downpour, his eyes reddened, and I couldn't tell if what dripped from them was rain or tears. I can't lose you. Please, Diana, just believe me one more time. I'm begging you. I slowly pulled my hand from his. Matthew. I accepted my offer from S University. I'm not going to T anymore. I handed him the umbrella. I'm leaving now. You should go home, too. Then I turned and walked back upstairs. That night, Matthew stayed outside my building for a long time. He didn't bring an umbrella. The rain soaked him completely, making him look like a stray dog left behind, stubbornly waiting in the place he last saw his owner, still believing he could go home. That was the last time we saw each other before our final goodbye. After that, I went to S University. Matthew went to T University. Far apart, different corners of the world. We never crossed paths again. Chapter 9. I never expected that our next encounter would happen like this, such a coincidence. I pulled my thoughts back and forced myself not to dwell on it. The past was the past. I'm in a new relationship now. As for my ex, let's just pretend I didn't see him. Still, I couldn't help but wonder why Matthew suddenly showed up here. I had class in the evening, so I made plans to grab dinner at the cafeteria with Paul. What I didn't expect was for Matthew to show up too, black hoodie, that silver moon necklace still hanging on his chest. Without hesitation, he plopped down right next to us. I frowned. Can you sit somewhere else? Matthew snorted. Why? You own the cafeteria or something? I'll sit wherever I want. Paul didn't know our history, so he tried to smooth things over. Diana, don't take it personally. Matthew's just got a sharp tongue, but he's actually a decent guy. He's an exchange student from T University. He'll be here for a year, and you two are from the same hometown, aren't you? Matthew and I exchanged a look. He rolled his eyes. I turned away, sensing the awkward vibe. Paul kept chatting to lighten the mood, sharing some funny stuff from his day. We ran into that senior we used to feed the stray calves with. He's put on a lot of weight. Though Paul came from a wealthy family too, just like Matthew, he was well-mannered and even-tempered. We met during a second-year club event. He was the president. I was the vice. After a few interactions, we realized how well we clicked. We could talk for hours without running out of things to say. Naturally, when he confessed, I said yes. First love is always memorable. But life isn't a romance novel. I can't stay in love with just one person forever. Life moves on. Really? We should find time to go get his balls snipped. I've seen him harassing the neighborhood female cats lately. I joked. Matthew scoffed. I ignored him. Paul picked up a small piece of cake and fed it to me. It's from your favorite cake shop. I just went there to buy it. I opened my mouth to take it. But just then, Matthew suddenly slammed into the table. It screeched forward, and the cake fell from my mouth to the floor. Paul frowned. What's gotten into you today? Matthew said mockingly. Oops, slipped. The mood got more and more tense, until I couldn't take it anymore. I pushed my tray away. I've lost my appetite. Just as Paul reached out, Matthew instinctively grabbed my tray and started eating my leftovers. Why do you always leave so much food? Paul froze. I opened my mouth to say something but hesitated. When we were together, Matthew always ate my leftovers too. Teenage boys eat a lot. and I never finished my meals. He didn't want to go get more food, so he just ate what I left, never once complained. I didn't think he'd still keep that habit. Matthew's hand stopped mid-motion, his head lowered, stiff and silent. Then, without a word, he stood up and left. A moment later, I got a text from an unknown number. What I meant was, "You've got pretty bad taste in guys." Chapter 10. That night, I thought long and hard before finally telling Paul about my history with Matthew. Out of respect for him and for our relationship. No wonder he was acting so weird today. I treated him like a brother, and he had his eyes on my girlfriend, Paul said, his face dark for once. But he still comforted me. "It's all right. It's all in the past now. I'll try to make sure you two don't have to interact too much." But easier said than done. Whenever I had class with Paul's cohort, we still ended up sitting together. Matthew clearly had no sense of boundaries when it came to people and relationships. He plopped himself down boldly on my left. The classroom was packed. Paul could only sit to my right. I felt like I was sitting on pins and needles, pretending to focus on the lecture. But my back was soaked in sweat. Half the class passed without incident. And just when I started to relax, a folded note was pushed in front of me. I pretended not to notice, but Matthew leaned on one arm, smirking like he had all the time in the world. I had no choice. When Paul wasn't looking, I opened the note and froze. It was a doodle of me, exactly like how I looked at 17. Memories came rushing back. I was dazed for a second, then crumpled the note in my fist and tossed it aside. The smirk slowly faded from Matthew's face. He picked up the note, head bowed, doing something quietly. A moment later, a wrinkled paper version of Diana appeared on my desk. Right then, Paul turned his head and raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "Trash," I replied, picking up the paper Diana. When the bell rang, I linked arms with Paul, stood up, and tossed it into the trash on our way out. I'm not 17 anymore, not at the age to be moved by little paper notes or paper dolls. On our way to the cafeteria, Matthew trailed behind us at a casual distance. Paul finally lost his patience and frowned. "I'm going to dinner with my girlfriend. Why are you following us?" Matthew replied lazily. "I'm going to eat too. There's only one path to the cafeteria. Since when was I following you?" A sudden idea popped into my head. I asked Paul to carry me on his back. He was confused but obeyed without question. So Paul carried me on his back. Walking past Matthew, we laughed and joked the whole way, while Matthew's face grew darker with each step. I wonder if he remembers that the spot he's in now used to be mine. Chapter 11. That night, Paul insisted on lingering with me under the dorm building. Just a few more minutes. Just a little longer. This nearly 6'2" guy acting all clingy almost knocked me over. Then, as if nothing happened, he caught me and helped me stand steady. "Tell me, who do you think is better, me or Matthew?" He stared into my eyes and suddenly dropped the question. Here we go. The infamous question every person with an ex gets asked eventually. And I couldn't turn it around on him. Paul had no exes. I was his first love. I didn't dare hesitate. "Of course you're better. Then did you used to love him more? Or do you love me more now?" His eyes narrowed. He wasn't letting it go. I fell silent. Who did I love more? I really do love Paul. I'm happy every day I'm with him. I truly feel like we're soulmates. But young love is raw, intense, and utterly pure. My momentary pause was enough to sour Paul's mood. His face fell. I tried to tiptoe to kiss him. Okay, of course I love you more now. But he stuffed his hands in his pockets and wouldn't lower his head to let me reach. He's a whole head taller than me. If he doesn't lower himself, I can't reach at all. I got frustrated and grabbed him by the collar. "Paul, are you asking for it?" Finally, he chuckled and leaned down to kiss me. The camphor trees rustled in the wind. A mix of lemon and sea salt hung in the July evening air, dreamy and fresh. His lips were cool. One long hand held the back of my head, gentle yet firm as I pulled back for breath, holding me in place. "Wait," I pushed him away, gasping, "I'm about to suffocate." He looked down at me. "Are you okay now?" "What?" Before I could react, he leaned in again, nibbling on my lower lip and whispering against it. "So, do you still like him?" Jealousy, after all, had brought us back here. I pushed him away with a sigh. I haven't liked him in a long time. It's over. Paul raised an eyebrow, gaze drifting past me, a smirk on his lips. I turned around, following his eyes. Under the massive camphor tree stood Matthew in his black hoodie, watching us. His fists clenched tightly. Who knows how long he'd been standing there. Just when I thought he might walk over, he suddenly turned around and walked away. His strides were long and hurried, almost stumbling. Chapter 12. I didn't expect to see Nicole again. After the college entrance exam, I went to S University. Matthew went to T University. And Nicole, who didn't have great grades, chose a random school near T University just to be close to him. I'd heard that Matthew's dad had always wanted to arrange an engagement between them, but Matthew flat out refused. He got into a huge fight with his dad over it and told him, "If you feel like you owe her something, then you marry her." His dad was so furious he slapped Matthew across the face. As a result, Matthew didn't go home for 2 years. His mom was livid, said his dad had lost his mind, and even threatened to divorce him. Their once happy family was on the verge of falling apart. Eventually, Matthew's dad backed off, and the whole thing faded away, unresolved. I thought I'd never see Nicole again, but to my surprise, I ran into her at a club gathering. Paul still had class, so I was waiting for him at the school gate before heading to the event together. I'd only been standing there for a couple minutes when a bright yellow Lamborghini Urus pulled up in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing Matthew's face, so handsome it could be used to swipe a credit card. "Club event? Hop in. I'll give you a ride." I eyed him warily. "How do you even know I'm going? You're not in our club." Matthew smiled and shoved his phone screen in my face, showing a picture. "Applied last week. Just got approved. As a club member. I'm attending a group event. What's wrong with that?" A sense of frustration crept up on me. I didn't understand what Matthew was trying to do. We agreed to break up. That was mutual. But now, after all these years, he's acting like he still has feelings for me, and it's seriously messing with my head. I won't lie, I did love him. I cried myself to sleep over that breakup more times than I cared to admit. But that was the past. I didn't feel like engaging with him any further, so I turned and walked away. Behind me, I heard the car door open and close. Matthew caught up and grabbed my wrist. "Diana, we need to talk." His grip was so strong I couldn't shake him off. "What do you want?" "There's nothing left to talk about." "Let go." "You left like it was nothing." "Hell, even a dog would have built some kind of bond after all that time. You just walked away and left me behind. Now look at you, new life. New boyfriend." He let out a bitter laugh, but there was nothing amused about it. He was gritting his teeth. "You threw me away like a dog. Like I meant nothing to you. Moved on without even blinking." "Diana, you're so fucking heartless." His grip on my wrist hurt. I yanked it free and stared coldly at him. "Matthew, did I never give you a chance? If it weren't for you and Nicole being on again off again, tangled up with each other, would we even have broken up? Our breakup happened because of you, not me. I know. It's my fault." Matthew took a step closer, his anger trembling on the edge of his voice. "But why couldn't you just wait for me? I told you I'd take care of it. Why couldn't you believe me? Was your love for me that fragile?" I looked at him for a long moment before answering calmly. "But why should I? Why should I be the one to keep waiting, to keep putting up with the consequences of your mess? If you really cared about me, would you have kept making me wait again and again?" Matthew's voice cracked. "Of course I care. I'm Matthew, I've lived this long, and you're the only damn person I've ever loved. Just you. But what does that have to do with me?" I said flatly. "Matthew, you're not the center of the universe. No one's born to orbit around you forever, to keep waiting for you. I'm not obligated to trust you. I'm not obligated to wait. I did have feelings for you, but they only carried me so far. I gave you more than enough chances. If being with you means I have to wait endlessly, then why shouldn't I go be with someone who doesn't make me wait at all?" Matthew's eyes went wide with disbelief. His mouth opened like he wanted to say something, but nothing came out. I turned to leave. Then a cold, almost venomous voice cut through the air. "So, you two are back together?" I turned my head. Nicole was standing not far away, dragging a suitcase behind her. Chapter 13. After all these years, Nicole seemed to have gotten prettier. but her expression now was a twisted mix of hatred and bitterness. I frowned, not wanting to get involved, but she suddenly rushed at me. No wonder he refused to get engaged with me. No wonder he hasn't been home in years. So it was you lured him back. She had completely torn off the sweet and gentle mask she used to wear. Hand raised. She tried to slap me. Diana, what's wrong with you? Is Matthew the only man in the whole damn world? Can't you just leave him alone? Before I could react, Matthew grabbed her wrist mid-swing. I took the chance and slapped her across the face. First of all, I'm not interested in Matthew. Second, even if there were something between us, does his face have your name written on it? He's made it very clear he doesn't like you. But you keep clinging to him, so tell me, who's pathetic here, me, or you? You hit me? Nicole screamed, trying to slap me back, but Matthew shoved her away, and she crashed hard onto the ground. That's enough, he snapped impatiently. Didn't I tell you not to look for me again? What are you even doing here? You're treating me like this, for her? Nicole looked at him like she didn't recognize him anymore. My dad saved your dad's life. If it weren't for my father, yours would have been dead long ago. Matthew finally lost it. My dad is his own person. If he owes your family a debt, that's his to repay. I've taken care of you for years already. What more do you want? My whole life? Nicole stared at him, eyes wide with disbelief. After a long pause, she spat out one final line, "You'll regret this, Matthew." Then she turned and ran off. A sinking feeling formed in my gut, knowing how obsessive Nicole was about Matthew. There was no telling what she might do next. And sure enough, not long after, I heard someone shout, "Someone's trying to jump off the building." By the time I got there, Matthew had already arrived. Nicole was on the rooftop, her white dress billowing in the wind. Her face was unnervingly calm, but the madness seeped through in her eyes. It wasn't a tall building, just 6 stories, but a fall from there would almost certainly be fatal. Matthew had gone up to the roof. His expression was grim. "Stop it. Get down. What the hell are you trying to do?" "What am I trying to do?" Nicole said softly. "I want you to love me, Matthew. How did we end up like this? We used to be so close when we were kids, and people made fun of me for not having a dad. You always protected me. You even said you'd marry me one day. Why did things change?" Matthew was clearly annoyed. "I was a kid. Kids say dumb stuff. I also said I wanted to be an astronaut when I grew up." But Nicole didn't seem to care. She kept talking like she was in her own world. Everything started changing the moment Diana showed up. Her eyes drifted down to where I stood. Even from that distance, I could feel the venom in her gaze, as if she wanted to kill me. "Diana, why did you have to appear? Do you have any idea how many years I've loved him? If it weren't for you, we could have been together. This is all your fault. If I die, it's because of you." I didn't know what to say. Suddenly, I felt the meaning of that old saying, those who are pitiful must have something hateful about them. To Nicole, Matthew was her whole world, her dream, her emotional anchor for years. No wonder she had become so twisted. At some point, Paul had come up behind me and grabbed my freezing cold hand. He took off his jacket and draped it over my shoulders, then looked up and scoffed. "If you die, it's because you're a dumbass. Your whole life revolves around a man, of course you're falling apart. And Matthew's a dumbass too, for not dealing with your mess properly." What the hell does this have to do with my girlfriend? People around us turned in surprise. Some even started filming on their phones. Paul didn't care at all. One arm wrapped around me, the other stuffed in his pocket. "If you're gonna die, go die somewhere else. Don't traumatize my girlfriend. It's not Diana's fault," Matthew shouted. "Even without her, I'd still never like you. I've only ever seen you as a sister. That's it. Stop making a scene and come down." "Come down?" Nicole laughed. "Matthew, I'll come down, if you agree to marry me. If I can't be with you, then there's no point in living. I'll die right here." The wind howled across the rooftop. Below, the crowd murmured, pointing and whispering, and just when I thought Matthew would fold again, like he used to, he said, "Then there's nothing I can do. Go ahead and die." Nicole's eyes widened in disbelief. Matthew's expression was dark, his voice fast and sharp, like he was finally letting out years of suppressed rage. You're the one person in the world I will never be with. Why? Nicole sobbed, voice hoarse. Matthew, I love you. Who else could possibly love you more than I do? I've always treated you better than anyone. Why are you being so cruel to me? Matthew looked her dead in the eye. Because you destroyed the only shot I ever had at being happy. Because of you. She left me. The next second, a firefighter who had quietly crept up behind her took his chance. He lunged forward and grabbed Nicole, pulling her away from the edge. She kicked and screamed, still crying, Matthew. Matthew. But Matthew just stood there on the rooftop, silent. He didn't spare her another glance. Through the roaring wind, our eyes met. And in that moment, his face blurred in my vision. 3 years ago, that boy had smiled at me with a sparkle in his eyes and said, Diana, now that my grades are just as good as yours, can you like me? And in the next second, that memory shattered like glass and vanished in the wind. We both knew, the past is the past, and there's no going back. Chapter 14. After a year as an exchange student, Matthew returned to T University, thousands of miles away. Before he left, he didn't say a single word. That night, I received a message from an unknown number. Just one word. Sorry. I stared at that apology, 3 years too late, and said nothing. I simply deleted it. The next time I saw Matthew was at my wedding with Paul. By then, we had both graduated 3 years ago. Paul had taken over his family business, and I was working at a law firm. Our careers were steady, and getting married felt like the natural next step. Nicole, in the end, hadn't succeeded in taking her own life. But something inside her clearly broke. She developed serious mental issues and had once tried to die for love with Matthew. Knife in hand, that was the last straw for Matthew's father. He finally had her committed to a psychiatric hospital. It seemed her entire life would be confined within high walls and endless therapy sessions. After that, Matthew went abroad. He never took over his father's company. Instead, he worked on Wall Street for a year and then started his own investment firm. In just 2 years, he found massive success, backing multiple high-profile projects and multiplying his net worth in no time. But he never dated again. Publicly, he declared himself anti-marriage. We all assumed he'd never come back to China. So when I saw him standing among the groomsmen, my instinct was to look at Paul, dressed in a tailored suit. Paul squeezed my hand and smiled playfully. He gave me a big wedding gift and begged me to let him be a groomsman. What can I say? I'm a kind person, I said yes. But deep down, I had a feeling he just wanted to flex in front of his old love rival. The whole ceremony, I was on edge, worried Matthew might pull something dramatic. But he didn't. He really did just play the role of a groomsman, though he never smiled. He was cooperative the entire time. The only moment of contact between us was during a group photo, when I tripped a little and he helped steady me, lifting the hem of my dress. Careful. That was all he said. No other words, not even a glance. Gradually, I relaxed. After the wedding, I lifted my dress and went to the bathroom. On the way, I bumped into Matthew in the hallway, white shirt, smoking alone. Since he'd come all this way to be in the wedding, it felt rude to completely ignore him. So I said politely, the wedding party's still eating. Why aren't you there? He shook his head. Not hungry. Oh, I tried to walk past him, but Matthew called out softly behind me. Do you know why I insisted on being a groomsman? I turned. Why? He looked at me, then stubbed out his cigarette in the trash and let out a soft laugh. No reason. Then he glanced at his watch and picked up his suit jacket. I'm heading out. Tell Paul for me, I've got a flight to catch. So soon? Yeah, there's a project I'm researching. I only flew back for your wedding. He turned, waving a hand as he walked away. Goodbye. I stared at his back, and whispered, Goodbye, goodbye, Matthew. That night, nearly every bridesmaid and groomsman sent over their well wishes along with photos from the wedding. In the group photo, everyone was smiling for the camera. Everyone but Matthew, who was slightly turned to the side, his gaze seemingly locked on me. Around his neck, he wore the moon necklace I gave him 8 years ago. I knew he still had the tattoo with my name on his chest. Suddenly, I remembered something from long ago, when Matthew and I were still together. We walked past a bridal shop once. In the window was a giant wedding photo. Matthew had held my hand, flashing that toothy grin and said, "Diana, one day, you and I are going to be in a photo like that too." I looked at our photo now. No wonder he insisted on being a groomsman. We did end up in a photo like that. After all, just not the way we imagined. A warm body pressed against my back. Paul wrapped his arms around me and grumbled into my ear, "What are you looking at? It's our wedding night." I locked my phone and turned to hug him. Nothing. Let the past stay in the past. At 25, Diana had finally said goodbye to the 17-year-old Matthew.